Welcome. I'd like to call to order the January 6, 2015 regular scheduled meeting of the Davie County Board of Education. First order of business is to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? We have a motion by Ms. Livengood. We have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, I will ask for a motion to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3 to discuss personnel matters protected by state law and to discuss student matters made confidential by NC General Statutes and FERPA. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. We have a second by Ms. Owens. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. We're now in closed session. Welcome to the reconvening of the January 6, 2015 regular scheduled meeting of the Davie County Board of Education. It's good to see everyone tonight. At this time, if you would, please bow with me for the invocation. As we gather this evening, I express thanks for this day and all of its blessings. I ask this board to be mindful of the business we are about to undertake. We are thankful for everyone in attendance tonight. Further, we are thankful for the opportunity to govern and the freedoms we enjoy. We pause to remember the students, faculty members, and families in our system and community who are facing challenges. Our positive thoughts are with them. As always, we seek wisdom to make the best decisions for the students and citizens of Davie County. Amen. At this time, I would ask the 4-H Explorers Club to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We really appreciate that, guys. At this time, moving on, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes for the special called meeting November the 20th and the regular scheduled meeting of December the 2nd. Do I have a motion? Yes, sir. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. We have a motion by Mr. Drexler, and we have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this point, we're moving on to the important dates, and I'll point out just a couple here. On January the 12th, we're having the Davie County Board of Education and the Davie County Board of Commissioners having a joint meeting at the Senior Center at 6 o'clock. We'd love to have everyone come out. Look forward to that. We're going to give them an update on where we stand on the high school project. They're going to talk to us a little bit about where they stand from a bond, selling bonds and that process, and just have some good discussion. We look forward to that. And then on the 21st of January, the commissioners are having a work session on bond funding as well. It's from 1 to 5, and I'm assuming it's in their regular meeting room, Dr. Hartness. And there's a conference in Pinehurst. I don't know that any of us are going to that, January 2nd, 22nd, 23rd of the North Carolina School Board Association. And then our next meeting will be here on February the 3rd at 6 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you there. And I guess at this time, I will move on to and turn it over to Dr. Hartness for his report. Yep.
Mr. Fuller, is there any paperwork, any agenda coming out prior to the meeting on the 12th?
Yes, yeah, there will be. We'll publish an agenda. We're actually working, trying to finalize that now. As soon as we get that finalized, we'll get it published. Yeah, yep.
Well, Happy New Year. It's hard to believe that we're writing 2015 now. Only 352 shopping days till Christmas. Y'all didn't find that too funny, did you? I hope everyone had a great holiday season and a Happy New Year, though. We're glad to be back in school. Glad to see everyone out tonight. We're experiencing some cold mornings, but thankfully we have not had any weather delays or closings. I just remind everyone, if we do have those delays or closings, that we'll be publishing those on all of our communication tools that we normally use. And I would remind our parents and other folks, if you have new contact information as far as telephone numbers, please contact your school and let them know what those new numbers are so that when we send out those notices, you'll be sure to get those. I did want to mention to you, and I know that I sent the board an alert on this, but right before Christmas, we did have a small fire at Davie County High School in the laundry area behind the gymnasium. There was a dryer that caught fire. I want to thank our staff who responded very quickly and kept that fire under control until the fire department arrived. I also want to thank the Mocksville Fire Department and our emergency responders who came out. I did mention to you that some of our creative students had taken photographs of the school with flames shooting from the roof, but those photographs were doctored with some special applications downloaded on phones, and we did not have any flames coming through the roof. In fact, the flames did not reach the ceiling. They were confined to the dryer. But I want to also thank our insurance carrier for being out quickly and having a quick response, allowing us to get everything cleaned up over Christmas and the holidays. The area has been cleaned. There have been 2 rooms that have been painted. This week, we're in the process of procuring a new dryer to go in that location. But I want to also thank the school staff and our maintenance department for the extra work that they put in to make sure that was back in good shape when students arrived this week. I'd also remind everyone it's flu season. We sent out a Connect Ed earlier this week, just reminding folks of just general hygiene that we need to all be diligent with as far as cleanliness, personal hygiene, and cleanliness of our buildings. Reminders of steps that we should be taking to prevent the spread of flu and viruses. We are also encouraging, and I hope everyone who listens or watches this broadcast, please stay home if you're staff or students and you have not been fever-free for 24 hours. That will help us with this flu epidemic that we're experiencing. As Mr. Fuller mentioned, I'm looking forward to our joint meeting with the commissioners next Monday evening. We'll be sending out an agenda for that. You've shared the topics of conversation for that evening. There's also the work session on the 21st that he mentioned. The county will be discussing their capital improvement plan, and I'll send out some information, too, of what will be included in that plan from Davie County Schools' perspective. I attended the Board of Commissioners meeting last night. Mr. Fuller did as well. It was very encouraging to see them kick off a process that's going to be refinancing some of the bonds that were used for the construction of Ellis Middle School. That process is going to save Davie County about $468,000 over the life of those bonds. Interest rates are excellent right now, and that's very encouraging as we go into the process of selling bonds for the new high school. Next Tuesday, I will be in Raleigh at a press conference at 11 a.m. Superintendents from around the state are gathering at the state capitol to present to the governor and the legislature in the state of North Carolina a guide that we have developed called the Guide to Strengthening Our Public Schools. I serve on the School Superintendents Association Board of Directors, and over the past several months, we've worked very diligently with each other. Superintendents across the state have developed this guide that I'll share with the board after we release it next week that outlines the future of public education in our state and the direction we feel like that we should be going. And we're very hopeful that the governor and the General Assembly will use this guide as they make decisions about the future of public education. So we're very excited about this document that will be released next week, and we really hope that the General Assembly will use it as a guide as it is intended. I want to thank all of our law enforcement officers and our emergency personnel, highway patrol, and everyone who were involved in the training that took place on December the 22nd and 29th at Davie County High School. We're very fortunate that the emergency personnel in Davie County are not only well-trained, but they're preparing daily and going through drills as they did over the holidays to take extra measures to continue to learn and communicate and protect both our students and staff. So we're very thankful for that. 2015 is going to be a fantastic year. I'm looking forward to great things in Davie County and looking forward to working with you and our community to make our schools even better. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Hartness. Yeah, it's comforting to know that law enforcement is training on that campus and knows the ins and outs and are prepared to. We're fortunate here in Davie County to have a relationship with law enforcement that we do. At this time, we're moving on to the architect's report and report on progress for the new high school. And I'll ask Clark Pierce and Wesley Curtis to come up and give us an update. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller and board members and Dr. Harkness. And it's a little intimidating to see this 5-minute clock out here, Jill, so I hope I'm not held to that, because I don't think we can get through this in 5 minutes. But of course, we're pleased to be here again tonight to give you an update on your new high school. It's moving along. The site's progressing as well as can be expected with the weather that we've had recently, and John Gray is here. He'll speak more specifically to the status of the site towards the end of our presentation. Just in the past 30 days has sort of been our format to let you know what we've been up to. We're continuing with the construction documents. Just want you to know that we're still on schedule to wrap those up pretty much by, end of this month, early February. So we're 95% complete on construction documents. So the final 5% is like building a house. It seems like it takes forever to get the last 5% done coordinated, but we're in the coordination phase now with our consultants, trying to dot the I's and cross the T's. We're still having input from administrative staff. It's primarily focusing now on the technology nuances of the new school. Continuing to refine the site layouts, particularly as regards to the athletic areas of the site, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later in the presentation. And of course, as you can see, if you've been down Farmington Road, the grading is still ongoing down there as weather permits. Again, what we've been doing and continue to do is John continues to monitor what's going on with the grading. The site documents are getting closer. We still don't have as good a handle as we'd like to have on the site cost at this point, and it's primarily because of the continuing development and refinement of the athletic portion of the site. And I'll show you sort of the process that we've been through just as a refresher if you've not paid that close attention to the nuances of what's going on with the athletic portion of the site. Of course, we're going to be finalizing the construction documents in the next 30 days. We'll have to submit our construction documents to DPI, to the Department of Insurance. We'll also be involved with environmental health folks in review of the kitchen and of course, Davie County local inspections. During the past 30 days also, we have responded to comments received for the design development review by the Department of Public Instruction. We've also had a technical review committee with the local planning and zoning with Andrew Meadwell and his staff. No major concerns there. We're still awaiting their comments on the site, but we're pretty much on board site-wise and building-wise with those issues when we get the report. Schedule, again, the site and the building, the entire project is expected to be released for bids in mid to late February. We would anticipate something in the neighborhood of a 4 to 5 week bid period for a project this size. So somewhere around the end of March, hopefully we'll be receiving bids, and then it'll be in your hands to review those bids based on our recommendation, make an award and recommendation of the county commissioners. The estimate, we've reviewed the estimate. The building is still in the range of the costs that were discussed and presented to you a little over a year ago. We're still trying to get a handle on the site regarding the athletic complex. We feel like, at least for the original site scope that was presented to you, that it's still within the range of your budget. So we've got a few factors that may influence that as we move forward. From the schematic design, this always happens, even if you're working from a prototype. As you get into the refinement of the design, there's going to usually be a little creepage in the square footage. And the square footage for a building that's 330,000 square feet in round figures is only increased about 6,500 square feet. Now, that 6,500 square feet is made up of several. I'll just give you 3 or 4 examples. If you recall the courtyard, there's a little notch in one corner of the courtyard. From a security and observation standpoint, the staff felt like it'd be advisable to enclose that. So just by encompassing that corner of the courtyard into the building square footage was roughly 1,000 square feet. In addition, the energy code has changed. So it doesn't sound like much, but a building this size, you have to increase the exterior wall system about 2 inches for the extra required insulation in the building. Of course, that's a long-term benefit to you because your building is going to be more energy efficient, but as an initial cost for the additional square footage, and I don't have a figure on that, but it did add some square footage. And then also another code change that occurred was fire exiting requirements, and that had a little bit of impact on the stair sizes, the main exit stairs. And then lastly, at the stadium complex, we added an additional set of toilets, additional toilet building to be able to serve the stadium. So all that combined totaled about 6,500 square foot. So, it was not superfluous. It was not staff really asking for things that they hadn't asked for previously. It's just a little bit of refinement to the plan that caused that. Another concern is, you're all aware of, is as we come out of the recession, there's potential for inflation. Right now, we still feel like we're okay, but is bidding potentially a little over a year, year and a half later than it was originally intended to bid had the bond been put on the ballot a year in advance. We're starting to see a little creepage around the state in some other projects. Wake County being one. Of course, Wake County is somewhat of an anomaly being Wake County, but steel prices and things like that are going up. This is a load-bearing masonry structure, so there's less steel in it than it would be if it were steel frame structure. So I think you're in good shape there. In fact, some schools that we're involved with in Wake County made the change to load-bearing after some convincing on our part. The construction manager finally came around and saw it the same way. So I think you're in a good position in terms of structural system on your project. And then, as I mentioned a number of times already, modified scope of the athletic fields. Just as a refresher, here's what you have out there right now. To the right of the Little League Road is your site. To the left is your North Davie Middle School, and to the rear is the Little League Complex. What was presented to you a little over a year ago in schematic design was this concept, and that concept was similar to what was done at Walkertown that this school was patterned after, was to provide a baseball, softball practice fields, and a football facility and tennis courts. What was envisioned at that time was to refine the existing baseball field at the Little League complex and to refine the softball field at the middle school and make dual use of the middle school softball field by both middle school and high school programs. Due to some changes that have occurred over the past year or so, The softball field is not being able to be used, not going to be able to be used by both the high school and the middle school because they both now have their seasons at the same time of year. So that's not going to work. So that means we can't just, improve the existing softball field. The baseball field, the Little League folks really wanted to sort of leave that alone for the time being, so we've stepped back from that approach. This was sort of an interim scheme that would show all of that complex on the site, leaving the existing middle school football field and practice field where it currently is, but pushing the high school baseball field and softball field back further behind the middle school, and basically leaving the Little League complex as it currently is. What's developed over the last couple of months through an enormous amount of input from staff and from the athletic department, from both the high school and middle school, is a shared complex that you see there now. You still have your football stadium for the high school. In order to locate the baseball field for the high school, the softball field for both the high school and middle school together in a complex, we basically are having to shift the existing football field and practice field away from their current locations to, I guess, the southern or southwestern corner of the middle school site. What this does do, however, is give you a complex that you can share facilities if you have a tournament, potential for community use as well, but it gives you a nice cohesive complex and near parking and near to the football stadium, and just a number of advantages that presents. We've also rerouted the Little League field, Little League road access to the rear of the site, because right now it currently comes about through the center of the high school football stadium. And I think John's going to talk a little bit about the progress on the site.
Work on the site continues to progress. It's been wetter, we all know that. The fill area for the site, let's see what we have here. With respect to overall project, we're looking at on the order of 30 days of rain time or time when it's been too wet to work the fill portion of the site. We do know that by about December the 15th, 16th, all the fill, that is the dirt that was dug out and then placed on the structural pad, was placed. So that fill was completed during the driest time that we had to work. We still have some cutting to do. We're moving some other material around on site, and as the weather allows, we're getting that work done. So the site is proceeding. They're working every day that they can, and the only thing that is delaying them a little bit is the weather. And so these are some shots that were taken by Clark and Wesley earlier today, simply showing that portions of the site are still a little bit difficult to work, but the machinery is moving around where it can, and they're doing what they can. And so we can see that areas of the site are beginning to shape up, berms are beginning to come up out of the ground, materials like rocks and things like that are being moved into positions where they will remain. So work at the site continues. The contractor works every day that he can. It's been a little bit wet, but we're very optimistic that the site proceeds well within the bounds that we had thought that it might. Are there any questions?
If I may, I did want to mention a couple of other things. If you noticed in the site area there, the Fieldhouse has shown that's always been an alternate, will continue to be an alternate to the project. We'll bid that. The cost we've gotten back from our estimator on that still seems to be in the range of what was projected. I think we're projecting about $3 million additional costs for that. It's actually a little bit under that in what he's projecting currently, so that's comforting to know. The turf, if we were to go with athletic turf, I think we're still thinking about whether or not that's going to be an alternate, but if it is, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $580,000 to $600,000 add to go to synthetic turf playing surface in the football field. And then the complex of the baseball, softball fields, and the football to middle school, right now we're bidding that as part of the overall construction, but as a deduct alternate, so we can determine what that added scope to the cost of the project will be. So any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. We appreciate the update. At this time, we're moving on to recognitions, and I will turn it over to Mr. Wallace for the recognition of Assistant Principal of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could have Ms. Revis, Tammy, come on up and stand here with me, please. Once again, it's my pleasure to have the opportunity to recognize someone tonight, Ms. Tammy Revis. Ms. Revis has been in Davie County. I think she started her career here, and then then went to Yadkin County 1 year, and then she has served as a teacher in some various places. She also served as what used to be called the pass room coordinator. She had to rule with a heavy hand. That's her alternate to OSS. And Tammy has earned her national boards in 2003. She earned her master's from A&T University in 2004. She, again, has served as teacher, served as a temporary assistant principal, if there is such a thing, and then she has been serving us at William R. Davie as the assistant principal since 2010. Mention Tammy in one of her highlights, I'd have to say, of her career, now that she's lived through it, would be this past summer when she was, for the most part, totally in charge of the Read to Achieve summer camp. And we often throw out terms about get the plane in the air and then build it. Well, that's kind of what Tammy did, because you probably recall, if you were here, and for the guest and board, I'm sure you recall, Noel and Jenda continue to talk about how much Read to Achieve continues to change. It continues to change. And we just kept saying, Tammy, go do it. Tammy, go do it. Tammy, go do it. And there were many days she had that weary look in her eyes, but she did a phenomenal job this summer and really pushed her out of her comfort zone, which she will tell you that. But Tammy, you did a phenomenal job, and we appreciate that. And it is absolutely my honor to recognize you as Davie County School System's Assistant Principal of the Year. So congratulations. Thank you. With that, there you go.
On behalf of the board, on behalf of parents, on behalf of students, thank you for everything that you do. Congratulations.
This time, we're moving on to the P-TECH Signature School Recognition. Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to talk a little bit about our signature school this year, which is Moxville Elementary. And I'd ask folks, anybody from Moxville, come on up. Stand with me. Back in early December, we attended a breakfast in Greensboro. It's the Piedmont Triad Education Consortium Signature School Breakfast. And Mr. Fuller was there, and it's something that we look forward to every year. And essentially, it is a celebration breakfast that highlights the best schools in the Piedmont Triad. And this year, the signature school from Davie County that was selected to be honored at this breakfast was Moxville Elementary School. So we have some wonderful representatives from Moxville here tonight. Let me tell you a little bit about the recognition itself. So we recognize Moxville as our signature school because they've demonstrated a pattern of meeting or exceeding academic growth for years and years, achieving 100% of their state and federal targets. The third consecutive year, this past year, they were rewarded as a Title I reward school in North Carolina as one of the top Title I schools in the state. They have a diverse population and is very successful in maintaining an academic focus that meets children where they are. The teachers at Moxville place consistent emphasis on educating the whole child, and they are experts at implementing PBIS, or Positive Behavior Intervention Support. They appreciate diversity and character education, and that has led them to being a PBIS exemplar school. Moxville hosts family nights. They celebrate hometown heroes. They celebrate with parents and grandparents and their volunteers. Their students visit pen pals in a local nursing home. They share their talents through displays and performances in the community. They contribute as a staff and as students to many nonprofit organizations and local projects, and the school benefits as a result of that, with many volunteers, funding for summer camps, and partnerships with other community organizations. Along with that, Moxville has fantastic children and tremendous support from their parents and an incredible leadership team and teaching staff. So help me honor and recognize and congratulate Moxville Elementary as Davie County Schools' signature school.
He asked if I wanted to say anything. Mr. Microphone. Chairman of the Board of Education, Dr. Hartness, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise our children, and the leadership is very key, and it starts at the top. And so I say thank you, and I thank our community. I thank everyone at our school, because it's not one, it's all of us. And this award, we celebrated at our school, and I say thank you, because Moxville Elementary School, we've got it going on, and it's a great place to be. We love it. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the Davie County School Board, we want to say not only congratulations, but you exhibit what Davie County Schools is all about. Your compassion to educate, your compassion to care shows every day. And I'm so glad that the Piedmont Consortium saw that too. We are one of the luckiest people in the world because we have such hard-working, caring people. And on behalf of the board, we say thank you and congratulations. And I'm going to hand this to your student because I think that is wonderful because you're great. Thank you so much. Hey, baby girl.
Congratulations, Mr. Revis, and congratulations, Moxville Elementary, and thank you for all your hard work. It does take a village, Ms. Mars, there's no doubt about that. At this time, we're moving on to our consent agenda, and I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Got a motion by Mr. Junker. Do I have a second? Got a second by Ms. Livengood. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a note in your consent agenda that you just approved is the personnel report, and on the personnel report is the assignment of a new principal for Davie County Early College High School, and she is here with us. I'd ask Denise Absher to please stand, and let's welcome Denise to our team of principals in Davie County. We are delighted to have Denise as part of our administrative staff and team. Denise has taught in Davie County for 10 years. She was at Davie County High School as an exemplary math teacher. She was a lead teacher at the Davie County Early College High School through its inception. And for the last 2 years, the state recognized what a stellar teacher she was, and she's been training teachers all across North Carolina. So we're glad to have her back home in Davie County and part of our team. Congratulations, Denise.
I'll echo those congratulations. We're glad you're there. At this time, we're moving on to business items, and first item on the agenda is preschool tuition rate increase, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Smink.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller, members of the board, Dr. Hartness. You have before you this evening a recommendation to increase the preschool tuition rates. The last time we had an increase in these rates was in 2007. We have 3 different tuition rates, and our recommendation is for the Central Davie Education Center tuition to increase from $460 per month to $510. The individual school sites, and that would be each elementary school site, to increase from $430 a month to $480. And we do have a special rate for Davie County School employees, and that rate would increase from $350 to $390. The requested increase will still keep us below the market rate for the area and below the current cost of the surrounding area care facilities. And it is our recommendation that you approve the tuition rate increase.
Thank you, Ms. Meek. So we have a recommendation on the table to increase the preschool tuition rates accordingly. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Owens. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a performance pay plan. I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At our last meeting, I presented to you a draft performance pay plan that's required to be submitted to the North Carolina General Assembly by January the 15th. This plan is now presented for your approval, and I'll take any questions that you might have about it before we do that.
Any new inkling of whether the Raleigh folks are going to fund it or not?
At this point in time, the General Assembly will come back into session next week. We really don't have an idea of how this might be funded in the future.
The third piece of that identified or says that the board is going to annually identify the hard-to-staff positions. Do those positions get on this first copy, or is it next year?
I believe the only time we would identify those is if this plan were actually implemented, if there were funding associated with it. And then the board, we would come to you and we would talk to you about, the vacancy patterns that we've seen over the past couple years and the trends that we've seen. I can tell you that those areas right now are math, science, and exceptional children's programs.
And they're the same as they've been for
A long time. It's a good question, though.
Here. I know you said at the last meeting, you thought this, if it were implemented, it would cost around $300,000 and some thousand. Is that the figure?
It's a little over $500,000
Okay,
for
was that
Davie
much?
County if you implemented it fully.
I guess this is, probably you couldn't ask this question, but what if they mandated it and didn't fund it? Is that possible?
They only have $1 million statewide set aside for this program as it is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's great optimism that the money is going to be free-flowing.
There's always a possibility that there could be state mandates.
yeah.
I really believe that the intent behind this was to gather ideas from across the state and determine if there was a way to increase, to have some type of differentiated pay plan for North Carolina, and maybe pilot it in some organizations across the state to see how it might fit. So we'll see.
Any other questions? So we have a recommendation on the floor to approve this performance pay plan. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. I think we've had plenty of discussions. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to pre-qualification process, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartness for that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, according to the policy that the board approved several months ago, we have the option to gather pre-qualification information or data from potential bidders on construction projects. We have attached to this agenda item some pre-qualification processes that have been prepared by our attorney, Artie Bolick, and we've reviewed those with staff. Artie has talked with our architects about those pre-qualification criteria. The board would have to approve these criteria before we would use those, and essentially we would go out and post these on our website and communicate with potential bidders, and they would fill out this paperwork as part of the pre-qualification before bidding on the project.
I'm going to add a little bit to that too, and then I may ask Ms. Wilson to talk about it just for a second. But I think it's in an attempt to help help make sure that we get the most qualified contractors bidding on the project. I guess that's the best way to say it. But there are some questions that can be asked by law that are asked that are very helpful in knowing whether or not a contractor is qualified. And do you have any comments about that, or?
I think we're all, the process, having a policy and a process is a positive no matter what. When and whether you use pre-qualification will be up to you, and you may use it a lot or you may use it very little, depending on how it works out. But I think getting the process set up and started is nothing but a positive.
Are there any questions or about that? So we've got a recommendation on the floor that we approve the pre-qualification criteria as prepared by legal counsel and staff. Do I have a motion? Have a motion by Ms. Owens. Do we have a second? Have a second by Mr. Junker. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to public address to the board, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Wilson.
Well, it's a new year, but we're going to start the new year off a little quietly. We do not have anyone who would like to speak with you publicly today. I'm sure there will be people who will speak with you privately, and we'll have more next month.
Thank you so much for that. Moving on to committee and staff reports, and first up is Healthy Davie Forum, and I will ask Ms. Haynes to come up and talk to us about that forum.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller and board members. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Noelle Grady Smith, who has pneumonia, actually, not the flu, but pneumonia. At each board meeting, you all review donations reports, and many times you make comments about how fortunate we are to have such a supportive community. And as you'll note in the summary provided in your board packet, we have another example of the supportive and collaborative community in which we live and work. A group of community leaders and representatives have gathered and begun meeting to consider 3 areas in which the group can make a positive impact in this county. And those areas are poverty, health, and education. So several administrators within the school system have been invited to be a part of this group that's called the Healthy Davie Forum. And we serve on the committee that's focused on education, of course, within this large forum. And thus far, we're working with other representatives from DCCC, Smart Start, the Public Library, the Health Department, YMCA, and various other organizations that are involved with education. And our purpose is to really improve the coordination of all the different services that we offer and to better communicate with families so that we're maximizing the educational services and benefits that are offered within Davie County. We've met twice as a large forum, and then we've broken out into committees, into breakout sessions. Then each committee has organized additional meetings this spring, and so hopefully as we continue collaborating and working together through this Healthy Davie Forum, we hope to be coming back and reporting some great initiatives and some updates in the future. Do you have questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that report. It's nice to know, again, everybody's working together to help Davie become a better place. At this time, we're moving on to our donations report. Ms. Meek.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller. Members of the board, you have before you this evening your donations report for the past month, and if you have any questions. Again, you can see we have a lot of very generous members of our community.
If a donation is given for a specific use, it's marked on that chart for that. But if a donation is given for what is labeled appears to be a generic or general use, how is it determined where that is used?
If you mean, if it says for student needs, or, let me think, I'm trying to find one.
Look at
In most instances, there is a specific area that the donor does make the donation. But if there is nothing specific, then the principal and their staff at each school would then make recommendations on how to use that funding. A lot of general donations at the schools will go towards student needs. We have a lot of students who do not have the financial wherewithal to perhaps attend or have the funding to for field trips and that sort of thing. So a lot, or there'll be an at-risk students that might have specific needs. I can't get into details, but those funds would be used in that manner.
I'll give you this one as an example, and you may not know the answer tonight. So, grade level supply needs at Coolamy.
Okay, well, that's very specific, and that's, they've identified the, so I'm looking down to see, okay. That church made that donation specifically for each grade level and the needs that they would have there. So that they would be using those, say at the 4th grade level, for supplies and materials.
Okay, but my reason for asking the questions, and I found several generic kinds of things in the schedule of the listing of donations, and the reason I'm asking is what effect, and Dr. Hartness, you may have to get involved, what effect does that have on budgeted monies for a particular place? Or would it?
It does not, because you do not know, we don't know from year to year what kind of donations you'll receive. Each of the schools is allotted funding based on their ADM and the needs at that school. And so we do not know in the spring of the year when we're looking at those budgets what kind of donations you're looking at. So donations are over and above the allotments that the schools, each school receives.
When I look at this, it's just amazing to me, the individuals and, different civic organization, churches that play a key role, in our schools. And I don't know, to me, I think it's special.
It is. I agree.
Thank you, Ms. Meek. At this time, we're moving on to the North Carolina Public School Forum. I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This agenda item really goes along well with what Ms. Haynes was talking about. We're fortunate that we're having this Healthy Davie Forum, and we're talking about the issues that are issues in our community. And I want to thank publicly the Mebane Foundation and the Davie Community Foundation for heading up that forum and that discussion of leaders across the community. I sent this document to the Community Foundation a couple weeks ago when it came across my desk, and I wanted to share it with you, and I wanted to just walk through it and point out a few things that I saw. What this is it's called the Roadmap for Need, and it was published by the North Carolina Public School Forum and the North Carolina Center for After School Programs. And essentially it gives index ratings for different factors within each community or each county, each of the 100 counties in North Carolina. So when you look at the first page of any section of this, the lower the number, the better. So if you're ranked number 1, you're the best. If you're ranked number 100, you score the lowest in any of those factors. So if I just walk through this, there's a couple things that hit me pretty quickly. On page 2, this page talks about the roadmap of need in the area of health. And you can see that Davie County ranks 18th out of 100 counties. So we're in pretty good shape there. There's a couple areas that are outside of the school's realm or responsibility that are social factors. But overall, we're number 18, which is not a bad place to be in comparison to the rest of the state. If you move over to page 4, you'll see that Davie County ranks 50th, or right in the middle when it comes to youth behavior and safety. And again, some of these things are definitely outside the realm of public education. But number 2, or the second factor there, was called short-term suspension rating. We're number 7. That's a good thing. And I think that's a tribute to what we're doing at Central Davie Academy, where if a student is short-term suspended in one of our schools, 10 days or less, they have an opportunity to continue to go to school. They're not at home. They're not sitting at home out of school suspending. They have an opportunity to continue their education at Central Davie Academy while they redirect their behavior and get back on track. So the one factor there that we do have some control over as a school system, we rank very high in the state. The thing that jumps out on this page to me that's just an outlier, in my opinion, statistically, is our high ranking, or really low ranking, of 87th in child abuse and neglect. That's just inexcusable. And we as a community ought to be concerned about students or children in our community who are abused and neglected. And that just doesn't seem to fit, but I hear about that quite a bit, and we hear about the things that are going on within our community that have to be addressed at Dragonfly House and other places. That's disturbing to me, but when I look at the education ranking we have and see if these things are going on in our community, how well our students are performing in spite of some of their circumstances, that says a lot about our administrators and our teachers and what they're doing with kids every day. If I move on over to page 6, this is the education section, which we do have a lot of control over, and we're ranked number 9 out of 100 districts in this ranking. You'll see that one of the 5 factors, or 6 factors, is graduation rate. And on this scale, we ranked 50th, but this was using the graduation rate from 12-13, which was 83.2%. Now our graduation rate is 87.6. So if you renorm this, we may be even higher than 9th. I also see that we're number 3 in the state in mathematics, number 4 in the state with annual measurable objectives being met, and number 11th in the state in ACT. The ACT is a test that every junior in the state of North Carolina gets now. So we're number 11, and I think that's something we ought to be proud of. If you move on to page 8, looking at economic development, again, we're very blessed. We're number 8 in the state as far as economic development. But you can see some other rankings and other ratings. I thought this report was very interesting and something that you would enjoy reading and looking at, and I've shared it with the Healthy Davie Forum group, because I think it addresses and shows us where we are as a county compared to other counties across the state. And when you do that, we're extremely fortunate. So I wanted to share that with you, Board.
Thank you for that information, Dr. Hartness. That's, again, to your point, that is, makes you feel good to know that Davie County Schools is stacking up very well, but to your point, there needs to be a lot of work around child abuse and neglect. That's certainly is inexcusable. Do we have any other questions or comments related to the public school forum? Seeing none, I will ask if, just before we adjourn here, does anybody have any comments, any board members, any comments, or?
I just look forward to meeting with the county commissioners on January the 12th, and I hope the public does come out because it's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I'd look forward to that. That's a, yep, have waited for that for a while now. So I think that'll be a really good meeting. If there's nothing else, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I need to thank Gray Group and Joy Howard for presenting to the ladies of the board our pink hard hats. They are quite special, and I cannot wait to walk the field with those on. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you for everyone coming tonight. We look forward to having a packed house here. It's nice to know that we have folks that are interested in what's going on. And if we have nothing else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? Anybody wants to go home? We have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? We are adjourned.